the permanent, immutable, transparent recording of data, essentially, and transactions specifically. And so that can be used to, exchange any number of things that have value, whether that's an actual item. It could be, tea leaves making their way all the way to sort of final tea maker, or it could be me sending you a payment person to person without the need for intermediaries. I think of Bitcoin as being sort of the entry point to a digital future where everything that everything of value can and likely will be exchanged in digital format. Central banks will look to the Bitcoin experience to build central bank-backed digital assets. And then I think from an enterprise perspective, where you move away from Bitcoin specifically and take what you learn from that to apply it to other use cases, you look at things like supply chains. You can use blockchain technology to help trace that, right? And so you can essentially assign a tag to items across the supply chain and record each movement down the chain on a blockchain. What I think we will have is private blockchains that fit into the public blockchains. Similar to the way we think about internet and intranets. So if you look back at sort of when the internet came out, a lot of companies had a very similar path where, oh, internet sounds interesting. We're actually interested in intranets. We want to do this internal connectivity. Ultimately, intranets didn't radically change our world, but they are a useful part of the ecosystem, right? They allow our businesses to interact with one another internally and then ultimately plug into a more public domain. And so I think that is ultimately what we're going to see is these partnerships, this collaborative process where we have companies using private blockchains that sit atop public blockchains. So on the consumer side, I think if I'm being really honest, there isn't a tremendous use case or a tremendously compelling use case for somebody like me, somebody who lives in New York, higher socioeconomic status, fairly well served by the current financial system. What's interesting is that doesn't mean that the system that serves me fairly well is a good system, right? So when you actually dig into the financial system as we know it today, it's fairly antiquated. So it's primarily built on technology that was created in the 70s. The thing that